The champagne cork popped, spraying across Mom's pristine white carpet. My brother Ryan held the bottle high, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. In his mind he probably had. $2 million, Dad said, shaking Ryan's hand firmly. Son, you saved this company from bankruptcy. Brilliant negotiation. Mom dabbed at her eyes dramatically. My brilliant boy. Always knowing exactly what to do. I sat on the couch in the corner of their living room, laptop balanced on my knees, pretending to work on the quarterly projections they'd never asked to see. The projections that showed Palmer Industries wasn't failing at all. It was actually positioned for its best year in the company's 23-year history. Emma, aren't you going to congratulate your brother? Mom's voice had that edge to it. The one that meant I was failing to perform my role as the supportive younger sister. Congratulations, Ryan, I said flatly, not looking up from my screen. Don't sound so enthusiastic, Ryan laughed, pouring himself more champagne. I know you're worried about your little bookkeeping job, but don't stress. I'm sure the new owners will keep you on. You're cheap labor. My sister Nicole giggled from her position draped across the armchair. At 26 she'd never worked a day in her life, living off the consulting fees Dad paid her for occasionally showing up to company events. Emma, you should be thanking Ryan. That company was going under. Now at least you'll get some severance before it completely collapses. I saved my spreadsheet and closed my laptop. The company isn't going under. Emma, sweetheart, Dad said in that patronizing tone he'd perfected over my 28 years. I know you work hard in accounting, but you don't see the big picture. The market is contracting, our competitors are undercutting us, and our margins are shrinking. Ryan made the smart choice. Our margins are shrinking because Ryan approved a 15% across-the-board price cut without analyzing the cost structure. And our competitors aren't undercutting us, we're undercutting ourselves. Ryan rolled his eyes. See, this is why you work in the back office, Em. You think everything is about numbers. Business is about instinct. Vision. Something you've never had. Vision, I repeated. Is that what you call selling a profitable company for 30% less than it's worth? The Hendricks Group offered $2 million. Ryan's voice rose. That's generous for a struggling manufacturing company. We're not struggling. Last quarter Emma, Mom interrupted sharply. Enough. This is Ryan's moment. He's been running this company as COO for 3 years, and he's making the tough decisions that need to be made. You're just upset because you weren't consulted. He was right about that last part. I hadn't been consulted. But then again, I never was. Palmer Industries made specialized industrial sensors, small electronic components used in everything from automotive manufacturing to medical equipment. Dad had started the company 23 years ago, building it from a garage operation into a business with 72 employees and annual revenue of $8.3 million. And nobody in this room except me knew who actually owned it. When does the sale finalize? I asked quietly. Ryan checked his phone. Hendricks Group's lawyers are reviewing the final paperwork now. Should be done by Friday. 3 days. He raised his glass. To new beginnings. Everyone toasted except me. I stood up, gathering my laptop. I should get back to the office. Need to finish the month-end close. It's Sunday, Nicole said. God, Emma, do you ever stop working? Someone has to keep the books accurate. That's what we pay you for, Ryan said dismissively. Though probably not for much longer. I'm sure Hendricks will bring in their own accounting team. I left without another word, driving the 15 minutes from my parents' house to the industrial park where Palmer Industries had been located for the past 12 years. The building was dark. Everyone else was home with their families on Sunday afternoon. I unlocked my office and pulled out the file I kept in my locked cabinet. The file that contained the real ownership structure of Palmer Industries. When Dad started the company, he'd had a partner, his best friend from college, James Whitmore. Uncle James, as I'd always called him, though we weren't blood related. James had put up half the initial capital and owned 50% of the company. 8 years ago, James died of a heart attack at 54. He'd never married, had no children. His will left his entire 50% stake in Palmer Industries to me, the goddaughter he'd mentored since I was a child. The quiet, bookish girl who'd spent weekends at his house learning about business, finance, and investing while my siblings partied and my parents praised Ryan's natural leadership. But James had added a condition. The shares would be held in trust until I turned 25, managed by a corporate trustee, and the ownership would remain confidential unless I chose to reveal it. I'd turned 25 3 years ago. The shares had transferred to me completely, all 50%. And I'd never said a word. But I hadn't stopped there. 2 years ago I'd approached the Wilson family. Gerald Wilson had been one of Dad's early investors, holding 21% of company shares. When Gerald's health declined and his son wanted to liquidate assets to settle the estate, I'd bought his entire stake. Through a carefully structured LLC that didn't obviously connect to me, I'd acquired another 21%. That gave me 71% of Palmer Industries. And nobody knew. Dad held 23%. Ryan had been given 4% when he became CEO. Nicole had 2% from a performance bonus she'd done nothing to earn. Mom held nothing. Dad had never believed in women as business owners, which made the current situation particularly ironic. I was the majority shareholder of the company I'd spent 5 years watching them mismanage. And on Friday they were planning to sell it without my approval. I pulled up my real financial files. The ones I didn't show to Ryan or Dad. The ones that showed Palmer Industries' actual position. Revenue was up 18% year-over-year. Our new sensor line, the one I'd helped the engineering team develop, was gaining significant market traction. We had 3 major contracts pending that would boost annual revenue to over $12 million within 18 months. Our profit margins before Ryan's idiotic price cuts had been climbing steadily. The Hendricks Group wasn't offering $2 million out of generosity. They were offering it because they'd seen our real potential and knew Ryan was an idiot who'd undersell his own company. And in 3 days they thought they'd own it. My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. By the way, Dad wants you to prepare a full financial disclosure package for Hendricks by Wednesday. Everything. Don't leave anything out. I smiled at my screen and typed back, of course. Monday morning I arrived at the office at 6 a.m. as usual. By 7 I'd finished the actual financial package, the real numbers that showed exactly how valuable Palmer Industries was. I saved it in my personal encrypted files. Then I created the package Ryan had asked for. The one that showed the version of reality he believed in. Declining margins. Shrinking market share. Increasing competition. I didn't lie, I just highlighted every negative trend and downplayed every positive one. If they wanted to see a failing company, I'd show them exactly that. Ryan arrived at 9, strolling in with his coffee like he owned the place. Technically he owned 4% of it. Got that financial package? He asked, leaning against my doorframe. Almost done. I'll have it to you by noon. Great. Make sure it's thorough. We want Hendricks to see we're being transparent. Oh, it'll be very thorough. He left and I went back to work. At 11 Dad called me into his office. Emma, I want to talk to you about the transition. I sat down across from his desk. The office was decorated with photos of Ryan and Nicole, awards the company had won, industry recognition. Not a single picture of me. Hendricks Group is going to bring in their own management team, Dad continued. That means Ryan will be stepping down as COO obviously. He'll get a nice payout from the sale. I'll retire. Your mother and I are thinking of buying that place in Arizona we've been looking at. Congratulations. But I wanted to talk to you about your position. I've negotiated for you to stay on for at least 6 months during the transition. They'll honor your current salary, $58,000, right? 62. I got a raise last year. Right. Anyway, they'll keep you on at that rate for 6 months. After that, it'll depend on whether they want to maintain the current accounting infrastructure or consolidate it with their corporate systems. So I get 6 months, then probably unemployed. Well, you're good at what you do. You'll find another bookkeeping position somewhere. And think of it this way, you'll finally have the chance to explore other opportunities. You've been here for 5 years. Maybe it's time to branch out. Maybe, I said noncommittally. Look, Emma, I know you're disappointed you weren't more involved in this decision. But this is business. Ryan has been groomed for leadership since he was young. He understands the strategic aspects that you just don't have exposure to. Because you never gave me that exposure. Dad shifted uncomfortably. You chose to go into accounting. That was your decision. I have a degree in business management and finance. I took accounting work because it was the only position you'd give me. Emma, let's not do this. The decision is made. The sale is happening. Try to be supportive of your brother. I stood up. I'll have the financial package ready within the hour. Back in my office, I finalized both versions of the documents. The one I sent to Ryan showed a company barely worth $2 million. The one I kept showed a company worth at least $6.5 million, probably more. Tuesday morning, I received an email from Hendricks Group's legal team requesting a meeting to discuss the transition of accounting oversight. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday, one day before the supposed closing. I accepted the invitation and started preparing. That afternoon, Ryan burst into my office. Hendricks Group just confirmed their offer. $2 million, closing Friday. Emma, this is really happening. Exciting, I said, typing on my computer. Dad's already planning his retirement party. Mom wants to have a celebration dinner Thursday night, after the Hendricks meeting. You should come. I'll check my schedule. He lingered in my doorway. You know, Emma, I know we've had our differences, but this is good for everyone. You'll get a severance package and you're young enough to start over somewhere else. Maybe at a company that appreciates you more. Maybe. After he left, I made a series of phone calls. First to my attorney, confirming that all my ownership documentation was in order. Then to the corporate trustee who'd managed James Whitmore's shares, verifying the transfer records. Finally to my financial advisor, discussing the valuation methodology I'd be presenting. Everything was ready. Wednesday morning, Ryan called an all-hands company meeting. All 72 employees gathered in the warehouse area, looking nervous. Rumors had been flying for days. Ryan stood on a forklift platform, megaphone in hand. Everyone, I want to be transparent with you about the company's future. Palmer Industries is being acquired by Hendricks Group, a major player in the industrial technology sector. The sale will finalize Friday. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I saw our lead engineer, Marcus Chen, frown deeply. Marcus had been with the company for 8 years and knew exactly how well our products were performing. Now, I know change is scary, Ryan continued. But this is good news. Hendricks has deep pockets and industry connections we don't have. They'll invest in this company and help it grow in ways we never could. Will there be layoffs? Someone called out. That's up to Hendricks's management team. But I've negotiated protections for employees. Everyone will get at least 90 days of continued employment. 90 days. Then they'd probably gut the workforce and integrate operations into their existing facilities. I caught Marcus's eye across the warehouse. He looked furious. After the meeting dispersed, he found me by the coffee machine. Emma, tell me Ryan isn't selling this company. Looks like he is. We're not failing. The M-Series sensors are about to land the Tecton contract. That's a $2 million annual deal alone. I know. Did you tell him? Did you show him the actual numbers? He doesn't want to see the actual numbers, Marcus. He wants to see the story that justifies his decision. Marcus ran his hand through his hair. This is insane. Emma, you have to do something. Like what? I'm just a bookkeeper, remember? He stared at me. You're more than that. Everyone here knows it. You're the only one who actually understands this company. Not according to Ryan. Then Ryan's an idiot. Marcus lowered his voice. Is there anything you can do to stop this? I took a sip of my coffee. Come to the office Thursday afternoon. Around 3 p.m. You might want to see what happens. Thursday morning I dressed carefully. Professional suit, minimal jewelry, my hair pulled back. I looked like someone who meant business. The meeting with Hendricks Group was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:30 I walked into the conference room where Ryan had already set up. He'd brought Dad, Mom and Nicole, the entire family ensemble. Emma, you're early, Ryan said. We don't need you until Hendricks's team has questions about the financials. Actually, I need to be here from the beginning. This is a strategic discussion. Way above your pay grade. I insist. Dad frowned. Emma, Ryan's right. This isn't appropriate for. The conference room door opened. 3 people walked in. 2 men in expensive suits and a woman carrying a briefcase. The Hendricks Group acquisition team. Mr. Palmer, the woman said, extending her hand to Dad. I'm Catherine Hendricks. We spoke on the phone. Miss Hendricks, pleasure to meet you in person. Dad shook her hand warmly. This is my son Ryan, our COO, and his team. Catherine's eyes swept the room, landing on me. And you are? Emma Palmer. Head of Financial Analysis. Bookkeeper, Ryan corrected quickly. She prepares our financial statements. Among other things, I said mildly. We all sat down. Catherine opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. Let's get straight to business. We've reviewed the financial disclosures provided by Mr. Ryan Palmer. Based on those numbers, our offer of $2 million for 100% of Palmer Industries shares is fair and generous. We agree, Ryan said eagerly. It's a good deal for both sides. However, Catherine continued, we do have some concerns about the accuracy of certain projections. Your disclosed numbers suggest declining performance, but our market research indicates your new sensor line is gaining significant traction. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Well, there's always some uncertainty in projections. Which is why, I interrupted, I prepared an alternative financial analysis. One that shows the complete picture. I pulled out my tablet and connected it to the conference room screen. Ryan's face went red. Emma, what are you doing? Providing accurate information. I pulled up my presentation. Ms. Hendricks, the financial package you received was incomplete. It didn't include our pending contracts, our new product pipeline analysis, or our actual market position. The screen showed the real numbers. Revenue growth. Profit margins. Market expansion opportunities. Catherine leaned forward, studying the data. These numbers are significantly different from what we received. Because these numbers are accurate, I said. Palmer Industries isn't a failing company being sold at a discount. It's a thriving company being undersold by someone who doesn't understand its value. Ryan slammed his hand on the table. Emma, you're fired. Get out of this meeting right now. You can't fire me. I'm the CEO. I absolutely can fire you. Actually, you can't. Because you don't have the authority. Dad stood up. Emma, this is unacceptable. You're undermining your brother's negotiation. Apologize and leave or you're done at this company. I can't be done at this company, I said calmly. Because I own 71% of it. The room went completely silent. Mom laughed nervously. Emma, that's ridiculous. You don't own anything. I pulled out my folder. The one with all the documentation. James Whitmore left me his 50% stake when he died 8 years ago. The shares were held in trust until I turned 25, then transferred to me completely. That was 3 years ago. I placed the first set of documents on the table. Trust paperwork. Transfer records. Stock certificates. That's 50%. I acquired another 21% 2 years ago from the Wilson estate. That gives me 71% of Palmer Industries. Ryan grabbed the documents, his face white. This is fake. It has to be fake. It's not fake, Catherine said quietly, examining the papers. These are legitimate stock certificates. Emma Palmer is the majority shareholder. Dad sank back into his chair. James left you his shares? He left me everything. Because I was the only one who cared about learning the business. Who spent time understanding what made this company work. Nicole's voice was shrill. You've been lying to us for 3 years? I've been watching, Bernie. Seeing exactly how you'd run this company if you thought you controlled it. And you've proven you're incompetent. Ryan found his voice. You can't block this sale. It's already done. Actually, I can. And I am. I turned to Catherine. Ms. Hendricks, as the majority shareholder of Palmer Industries, I'm formally rejecting your acquisition offer. This sale will not proceed. Catherine nodded slowly. I see. Well, this changes things considerably. You can't do this. Ryan shouted. We have contracts. Agreements. You have preliminary agreements that require majority shareholder approval, I said. Which you don't have. Which you'll never have. This sale is dead. Mom was crying now. Emma, how could you? This is our family's company. No. It's my company. It's been my company for 3 years. You just didn't know it. Dad's voice was hollow. Everything James built, he gave it to you? He gave it to the person who deserved it. Who understood it. Who would protect it. I looked at each of them. Not the people who'd sell it for 30% of its value to fund retirement in Arizona. The door opened. Our company attorney, Michael Brooks, walked in, followed by Marcus Chin and 3 other senior employees. Emma, Michael said. I have the corporate resolutions you requested. Thank you, Michael. Ryan looked frantically between us. What resolutions? As majority shareholder, I said, I'm exercising my rights under the company bylaws. Effective immediately, the board of directors is being restructured. I handed out copies of the documents. Ryan Palmer is removed as COO. Dad, you're removed as CEO. The new CEO of Palmer Industries is me. You can't, Dad started. I just did. Michael has verified all the paperwork. It's completely legal. Catherine Hendricks stood up, gathering her documents. Well, this has been enlightening. Emma, if you ever decide to sell, we'd be very interested in having a conversation. At a significantly different valuation. She handed me her card. Based on the real numbers you showed me, I'd estimate this company is worth at least $6.5 million. Probably more. After Hendricks's team left, my family sat in stunned silence. Finally, Nicole spoke. So what happens to us? That depends. Are you willing to actually work? What does that mean? It means no more fake consulting fees. No more showing up to events in expensive dresses on the company dime. If you want a position here, you'll earn it. Real work. Real metrics. Real accountability. She stared at me. You're serious? Completely. Ryan's voice was bitter. And what about me? You're just going to throw me out. I'm reassigning you. You'll work as a sales associate under Marcus Chen. If you can prove you actually understand our products and can contribute to revenue growth, maybe you'll work your way back up. But you'll start at the bottom. Sales associate? I'm the COO. You were the COO. Now you're unemployed unless you take the position I'm offering. Dad finally spoke, his voice tired. Emma, what do you want from us? I want you to accept reality. This company is mine. It's been mine for 3 years. I've spent that time watching you run it poorly, make bad decisions, and treat me like I was worthless. That ends today. We never treated you like you were worthless, Mom protested weakly. You called me a bookkeeper when I have a business degree. You gave Nicole fake jobs while I worked 60-hour weeks for a fraction of what I was worth. You praised Ryan's instincts, while ignoring my actual analysis. You were selling this company without even consulting me. Marcus cleared his throat. For what it's worth, Emma has been the only person keeping this company running efficiently for years. We all knew it. Ryan turned on him. You're fired. Ryan, I said quietly. You don't have that authority anymore. Marcus is being promoted to VP of Operations. He's earned it. The meeting dissolved into chaos after that. Ryan stormed out. Nicole left crying. Mom followed her, shooting me wounded looks. Dad sat alone at the conference table for a long time after everyone else had gone. Finally, he stood up. Your mother and I need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. The decision is made. Emma, we're your parents. You're the people who adopted me after my biological parents died. And I'm grateful for that. But you never treated me like real family. Not the way you treated Ryan and Nicole. He left without another word. I stayed in the conference room as the sun set, looking at the documents spread across the table. Stock certificates. Corporate resolutions. The new organizational chart I'd spent months preparing. Michael Brooks knocked on the doorframe. Emma, you handled that well. Did I? They hate me now. They underestimated you for years. Sometimes people need a shock to see reality clearly. James knew, I said softly. He knew they'd never respect me. That's why he structured it this way. So I'd have time to learn, to prepare, to be ready when the moment came. He was a wise man. After Michael left, I walked through the facility. The warehouse was quiet, machines idle for the night. I ran my hand along one of the production lines, thinking about everything James had taught me. Business isn't about being the loudest voice in the room, he'd said once when I was 20 and shadowing him for the summer. It's about being the most prepared. Learn everything. Watch everyone. And when your moment comes, be ready to act decisively. My moment had come. Over the next week, the changes accelerated. I hired a real CFO. A woman named Patricia Wu with 15 years of experience at Fortune 500 companies. I promoted 4 senior employees who'd been overlooked for advancement, including 2 women and a person of color. I restructured the sales compensation plan to reward actual performance instead of seniority. And I canceled Ryan's company credit card, Nicole's consulting contract, and Dad's automatic monthly stipend. Ryan lasted 3 days in sales before quitting. "I'm not working for people who used to work for me," he announced dramatically. "Hey," I said. "Good luck with your job search." Nicole tried to negotiate a new consulting role. "Emma, please. I need the income. I have expenses. Get a real job. Learn what actual work feels like." She left too. Dad held on longer. He showed up every day sitting in what used to be his office, now a conference room, looking lost. Finally, after 2 weeks, he came to see me. "I'm retiring," he said. "Your mother and I are moving to Arizona as planned." "Okay. Emma, I know I wasn't. I know we didn't. Treat me fairly. Value my contributions. See my potential." He looked at the floor. "Yes. James saw it. He saw everything you missed. And he made sure I'd have the power to fix what you broke." "I didn't break anything. You were selling a $6 million company for $2 million. You'd given operational control to Ryan, who was running it into the ground. You'd put Nicole on payroll for doing nothing. Instead, you broke things." He left that day and didn't come back. 3 months into my tenure as CEO, the tech-ton contract came through. $2.1 million annually for 5 years. Marcus had been right, it was a game changer. 6 months in, we landed 2 more major contracts. Revenue was up 32%. Employee satisfaction surveys showed dramatic improvement. Patricia had restructured our financial operations, and we were operating more efficiently than ever. Catherine Hendricks called me personally. "Emma, I've been following Palmer Industries' performance. Impressive turnaround." It wasn't a turnaround. It was removing obstacles. She laughed. "Fair point. Listen, if you ever want to discuss strategic partnerships, not acquisitions, partnerships, we should talk. What you're building is impressive." "I'll keep that in mind." A year after taking control, I stood in front of the entire company at our annual meeting. 72 employees had grown to 95. Revenue had increased 48%. We'd opened a second facility. "This has been a year of transformation," I told them. "Not because we changed what we do, but because we committed to doing it excellently. To rewarding merit, not connections. To building something sustainable, not just profitable." Marcus started the applause. Soon everyone was standing, cheering. After the meeting, Patricia found me in my office. "Emma, I've been meaning to tell you. I've worked for a lot of CEOs. You're one of the best. I had a good teacher. James Whitmore. He taught me everything. How to read financial statements. How to evaluate business decisions. How to see through bullshit." I smiled. "And he taught me patience. To wait for the right moment instead of forcing things. He chose well." That evening, I drove past my parents' old house. It was dark. They'd moved to Arizona 3 months ago. We hadn't spoken since they left. I felt no sadness about that. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Team wants to celebrate at Murphy's bar. You coming?" I smiled and texted back, "On my way." The bar was crowded with Palmer Industries employees, celebrating another successful quarter. They cheered when I walked in. Someone handed me a beer. We talked about projects, timelines, new opportunities. This was my family now. The people who showed up did the work and built something real. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I pulled out the letter James had left with his will. I'd read it 100 times, but I read it again. "Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I won't be there to see what you'll build. But I know you'll build something extraordinary. You have what your family lacks: vision, patience, and genuine respect for other people. Don't let them diminish you. Don't let them convince you you're less than you are. When the time comes, take what's yours and show them what real leadership looks like. Love, Uncle James." I folded the letter carefully and put it back in its frame on my wall. James had given me more than shares in a company. He'd given me the tools to claim my place, the confidence to use them, and the wisdom to wait for the right moment. Ryan had tried to sell our company for $2 million. He hadn't known I was the silent majority owner. Now he knew. Now everyone knew. And Palmer Industries, under my leadership, was worth more than anyone had imagined. Not because of some dramatic transformation or brilliant strategy. Simply because I'd removed the people who were holding it back and let the talented employees who'd been there all along finally do their jobs. Family business, Ryan had always said, was for family. He was right. It just took them losing it to figure out who the real family was. 2 years later, the Palmer Industries headquarters had moved to a larger facility. 140 employees. Annual revenue of $14.3 million. 3 major patents pending. Industry recognition as one of the fastest-growing manufacturing companies in the region. Catherine Hendricks and I had formed a strategic partnership. Not an acquisition but a collaboration that benefited both companies. Marcus Chin was now COO, the position Ryan had held so poorly. Patricia Wu had helped us go public with an IPO that valued the company at $22 million. I still owned 51%. But the other 49% was distributed among employees, investors, and partners who'd earned their stakes. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Emma? It's Dad. I hadn't spoken to him in 18 months. Hello. I wanted to call. To see how you're doing. I'm doing well. The company is thriving. I saw the news about your IPO. $22 million valuation. That's incredible. It's what the company was always worth. You just couldn't see it. He was quiet for a long moment. I was wrong, Emma. About everything. The way we treated you, the decisions I made selling to Hendricks. All of it. I was wrong. Yes. You were. Is there any chance? Could we talk? Maybe have dinner? I looked at the photo on my desk. Uncle James and me at my college graduation, both smiling. He'd believed in me when no one else did. Maybe someday, I said. But not yet. I understand. Emma, I want you to know, I'm proud of you. What you've built, what you've become. James was right to trust you with his shares. He trusted me because I earned it. That's the difference between us, Dad. He thought family meant automatic loyalty. James understood that family is something you build through respect and trust. After we hung up, I returned to the quarterly projections on my screen. Strong growth. Solid fundamentals. Sustainable expansion. This was what Uncle James had seen. Not just a company but potential. Not just numbers but possibility. And he'd given me the power to make it real. My brother had tried selling our company for $2 million. Now it was worth $22 million and climbing. He hadn't known I was the silent majority owner. But silence, I'd learned, was its own kind of power. And when you spoke, you made sure everyone listened.